join me today. I know it's been a little while since I've done one of my movie reviews. Sorry about that. Life has been a bear, let's just say that. I'm going to school and work and family obligations, planning a wedding. So I apologize, it's been a while, but here we go. Let's get back into this. Today, I'm going to be doing my review of Avengers Infinity War. My initial reaction, oh my goodness, blew me away. Everything over the past 10 years and 18 movies has all led up to this point, Avengers Infinity War. You see everybody brought together, from the Guardians, Doctor Strange, the Hulk, the Avengers. I mean, everybody is right together in this movie. And we can't forget one of my new favorites, the Black Panther. Movie was amazing. As far as opening box office, for the opening weekend, it set records. It made $258.2 million on its first weekend. That's from that includes the late Thursday showings all the way up through Sunday. Blew it away, knocked it out the park. Just all the characters in this, it's just very rich. You would think that it would be very overcrowded with all the characters that they had to try to fit in, but it didn't feel that way at all. Everybody got their moment to shine. Everybody had their moment where they could step out and you could say, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about that. That's why I love this character. So I thought it was great. Let's go ahead and move on a little bit here now. Let's talk about the story. What did it bring here? Now, I'm going to warn you right now, this video is going to be filled with spoilers. Everybody by now, if you have wanted to see this movie and you haven't seen it, this isn't the video you want to watch. Go ahead, turn this off, go see the movie, come back and join me, and then you can talk about the movie right down in the discussion section here. But let's get right into the story. Right from the very beginning, I think they did a great job of setting up the main villain of this story, Thanos. You've seen him in some of the other movies, like little glimpses here. They just show him kind of sitting and just kind of making small moves in the background. That all ends here. This movie picks right up where Thor Ragnarok left off at, and it just started off right out the gates. You saw the ship that all the Asgardians were on. It's been decimated. You see bodies laying everywhere, and you just see the Black Order coming in. This guy, he's laying down the proclamation you're about to see the greatest ever. I mean, he's just building Thanos up. And then you see Thanos, he comes in, he has all his armor on, and he grabs Thor and picks him up by his collar, and he just kind of pulls him along. Thanos kicked butt in the first part of this movie, just from the very opening. Some things that really surprised me. I'd heard rumblings here and there as the movie was approaching, and not just here recently, but from back over the past year, that this wasn't going to be the movie for Loki. And they were right. Loki does die in the very beginning of this movie. Thanos just crushes him. He just snaps his neck right in front of Thor. Before that happens, you see Loki kind of talking his usual smack to Thanos, and Thanos is asking for one of the Infinity Stones that he has, the Ether, I believe is the one that he had, and Loki just has it right there. He pulls it in, uses his sorcery, and okay, yeah, I have it. And Thanos is you can give it to me. And he's there's one thing you forgot about. We have a Hulk. Then out of nowhere, the Hulk comes smashing in, and he starts in with Thanos, and it looks like, oh wow, what's going on here? Hulk is just pounding on Thanos, and one of the henchmen is like, "Oh, let me get in here and help out the boss," But the other guy's like, "No, hold on, let Thanos have his fun." Right after that, I have never in any of the movies to this point, you've seen the Hulk get some punches, he takes some blows, and that kind of thing. No, Thanos lays it down. This is how you can tell just how strong this guy is. He's about the same size as the Hulk, height, build, but the difference is he may not be stronger because the Hulk, his power comes from pure rage. The madder he gets, the stronger he gets. But with Thanos, there's a big difference. Thanos knows how to fight. He's the Hulk. He's just pure rage. He's just smash, punch, kick. Thanos knows how to lay it down, and he proved that right here. He beat the Hulk and left him laying. He picks him up over his head and just slams him down. Never seen the Hulk get beat like this. And then Heimdall, he's laying there barely alive, and he uses he grabs Hulk up and shoots him out back to Earth, and then Heimdall gets killed. Thanos just grabs the spear and just takes him out. So in the beginning sequence of this movie, you've seen Hulk get beat down like he's never been beat down before. You've seen Loki get his neck snapped, and Heimdall get a spear in the heart and just smashed up. And Thor is just sitting there being forced to watch all this, just with all this metal girders wrapped around him so he can't move. And you can tell he's already taken a big beat down. So this is how they set up the main bad guy of this movie. And I think they did a really good job. One of the next things I wanted to talk about was just the character interaction that you see in this. As the movie progresses, you start seeing all these characters coming together, and they're being paired up in different ways that I never thought I would really see. Thor gets picked up by the Guardians, who are answering a distress call. So you get to see the interaction between the Guardians and Thor, which I think was pretty great. Just seeing how Peter Quill is, looking at Thor and just, well, what's so special about him? What about me? And so he kind of, there's a couple great lines that happen right in here. Well, one of them is, they're all looking at Thor like, oh my gosh, look at him, this big muscular guy, and Quill is like, well, he's Star-Lord. He's like, well, what about me? I'm pretty good too, and classic line. It made me laugh. I still kind of laugh about it as I'm thinking here, but said, oh, well, you're one sandwich away from being fat. Died a sandwich away from being fat. Great line. Then you see the interaction between Star-Lord and Thor, and Star-Lord is mocking him. He's trying to talk like him, and he's like, no, he's trying to talk like me. He's like, are you mocking me? And they're like, are you trying to deepen your voice? Just great interaction there. Got to bring in some of the comedy from Thor Ragnarok. It was a little bit more lighthearted movie at times, and you got to see Thor showcase just some of his comedy skills. Chris Hemsworth did a great job with comedy and still keeping it serious at the same time when it needed to be. So I thought that was great right there. Then you get to see some of the interaction between as Thor leaves the Guardians. Rocket and Groot go off with him. Their whole interaction and the scenes between them are great. You had another group with Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man together. I've been waiting to see Doctor Strange and Iron Man together. These two huge egos coming together, and I think their egos are so much alike that I knew they were going to butt heads, and I wasn't disappointed. They did. Just some of the lines between them, it's just like, come on, who wouldn't want to see this? And then you had the whole crew in Wakanda. You had the Scarlet Witch, Vision, Captain America, Black Panther, and his crew. Who else? Tons of people there. And just everything. And you kind of had a couple characters like the Guardians, they kind of like moved over, and it was a great movie. Can't say enough about the character interaction. I think they did a great job with that there. Moving on towards the end of the movie here, I like to call it the snap heard around the universe. Now, Thanos finally got all of the Infinity Gems assembled on the gauntlet, or the glove, for you that are like, what's a gauntlet? His big glove. Had all the gems on there. With that, and there was a line in the beginning of the movie. They said, we can't let him get any more Infinity Gems. He'll be too powerful. And Thor looks at the Guardians and he's like, he already is. He had 2 of them at that point. Now he has all 6 on this glove. And if he was unstoppable, he was really strong with 2. With 6, there's nothing anyone could do. But Thanos ends up in Wakanda after he gets the last soul gem, which was a very surprising cameo thrown in there. The guardian of the soul gem was the Red Skull. We have not seen the Red Skull since the first Captain America movie, the first Avenger. Wasn't real sure what happened with him, but he kind of gave us a quick, brief understanding that, the soul gem captured him and pulled him in, and he became the guardian of the gem, basically. He would never be able to wield it himself, but he was the one that was standing guard over it. And Thanos came in and did what he needed to do and walked out with the gem. Thanos then comes to Wakanda. He's looking for our boy Vision. He wants that Infinity Stone that Vision has implanted in his forehead. All right, so he comes in and Vision is telling Scarlet Witch, hey, you when he gets here, it's too late. You need to kill me. You need to destroy the gem. You cannot let him get his hands on it. And after some back and forth, finally, Scarlet Witch, she starts using her hex powers and she blows the gem up just as Thanos gets there, and he throws her to the side and he's looking at it. He has the time gem, the Eye of Agamotto that he got from Doctor Strange. And he activates it and turns his wrist, and he turns time backwards, and Vision comes back to life. The gem is repaired, and then Vision got to die twice in this because Thanos reaches in and pulls out part of his skull and that gem at the same time, and Vision turns gray and just falls down dead a second time. But now Thanos has that gem, puts it in there, and he's unstoppable now. Thor shows up, and he now has Stormbreaker with him. Oh my gosh, he has the big boy hammer now. Interesting thing, when he went to get Stormbreaker. Sorry, why do I want to keep calling it Stormbreaker? Stormbreaker. Peter Dinklage. Some of you may remember him from Elf. He played the little short guy there. Or most of you probably know him from one of my favorite shows, Game of Thrones, Tyrion Lannister. But, he comes in and he plays a dwarf, but with a twist. This is a giant dwarf. Kind of strange looking, but it kind of worked. So Thor went to him to get Stormbreaker built, and he brings that back with him. He gets to Wakanda, and just as everything's going down, and he throws that thing, and it implants in Thanos' chest. He comes up, he starts pushing it into him, and you think Thor saved the day. Everything's gonna be okay. And Thanos looks at him and says, "You should have aimed for the head." And then with the snap of his finger, the screen goes white, and when it comes back, you see a lot of our favorite characters, which brings me to my next point here: the death toll in this movie. With that snap, what he did was just what he said he was going to do. He wanted to reduce the population of the universe by half. He felt that there were too many people, they were using up too many resources, and there were just too many, and things wouldn't be able to thrive and survive. So he wanted to cut the population totals in half. You could go a lot of different directions with that, very political things. We're just going to leave it right there at that. With that snap, that's just what he did. When they come back, you start seeing characters turning into dust and just vanishing before us. I like to call this part the real or fake deaths. You know, what the characters that all disappeared. The ones that survived, I like to think of them as the OG Avengers. You had Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, the Hulk, who we never saw come out anymore again, because after the beatdown that he took, the Hulk was scared. He did not want to come out. So Banner made it, Thor, all of the originals. Everybody else just faded away into dust. Some of these were very touching moments. For me, I admit it, I'm an emotional guy. The one that hit me the hardest was seeing Spider-Man. You know, when you really think about it, he's a kid. He's not an adult like everybody else. He's a teenager. He's in high school. And as people are fading away, he's still with Iron Man, and he goes up to him, he's like, "Mr. Stark, I don't feel too good." And he like kind of falls into his arms, and he's like, "I don't want to go. I don't want to go." Oh my gosh, just thinking about it right now hits me right here. Very touching moment. But those are all fake deaths, because you know they're already planning on Spider-Man 2, whatever that's going to be called. Graduation Day, who knows? Had Homecoming, why not Graduation Day? Or maybe Spider-Man Prom, who knows? But he still has his movie coming. Black Panther turned to dust. You know, after the record-breaking totals that Black Panther had, they're already starting on his next movie. They're trying to get a script together and all that. You know he's going to be back. So, the Guardians, they already have Volume 3 in the works. It's going to be coming out. So those are all fake deaths. But you had a lot of real deaths. Like I already said, you had Loki, you had Heimdall, you had Gamora, who Thanos sacrificed to get the Soul Gem. He threw her off a cliff. He had to sacrifice someone that he truly loved. And that's a thing that I didn't really talk about too much. Thanos really did look at her as his daughter, adopted daughter, but I believe that there really was a love there that he had for her. And when it got to that point and he had to have a sacrifice in order to gain the Soul Gem, yes, he may have had a love for her, but he did not hesitate to chuck her off that cliff so he could get it. So you had Gamora's death, and then you had the death of Vision. These characters all died before the snap, and everyone turned to dust. So I believe those characters, as of right now anyway, these are based on comic books, and in comics, characters come back all the time. But I believe right now, those characters, they may have like really bitten the big one there. I think that they're gone. All the ones that turned to dust, I think those guys are going to come back. but I think it was a good job. They had us invested in all these characters. So even though we know some of these dust people, these dust deaths, they're going to come back, I still feel like, it touched us because we had a connection with these people. So I think that was really good. So what happens next? Where are they going to go with all this? Well, we're going to have to wait until next year. Avengers 4, that's going to come out next summer. So between now and then, we have 2 more movies that are going to come out in the MCU. Now, how are those going to fit in with that snap? Well, one of them that we have coming out is Ant-Man and the Wasp. That takes place before the events of Infinity War. So that they're not. You might see at the end some of that, some of what happened in Infinity War or leading up to it, play into that movie. Who knows? At the end of the movie, they may be caught up with everything else, and one or both of them may turn to dust as well. Not real sure about that. But then we have another movie, Captain Marvel. That movie takes place in the 80s. So that's not going to have any effect on what we had here either. So really, to find out what happens next, we have no choice but to wait until the Avengers movie coming out next year. So now, at the very end of the movie, the end credits scene, they did brought back Nick Fury, and he's there and with Maria Hill, and Maria Hill turns to dust, and he's like, oh no. And he goes over and he reaches into his bag and he pulls out kind of like a high-tech looking old school pager, if that's such a thing, high-tech old school. And he starts punching in some stuff and he hits a button just as he's starting to turn to dust. Classic Samuel L. Jackson. Just as he's turning, he's like, mother, and he turns to dust before he finishes it. But as the pager drops down to the ground, the camera goes down so you can see it, and some things are going on. And then you see the logo, the symbol of Captain Marvel. So he sent out a distress call to Captain Marvel. Where she is, who knows? Is she on Earth? Is she off on another planet? In exile? Is she hiding? We don't know. We won't really know what's going on with her until we see her movie. I'm kind of excited for that. I want to see if he's calling her. She has to be super powered. She has to be super powered up. If he's calling her, he's like, hey, she's our only hope. We need to get her in here. So, as for what the next Avengers movie is even titled, we don't know anything. They're kind of, Kevin Feige is keeping his mouth shut. He said they're not even going to be at Comic-Con this year. So we're not going to get any new information about what's going on until after Infinity War. So, as far as what the next Avengers movie is going to be called, it's not. I don't think we're going to get like an Infinity War 2. I don't think that's going to be the title. I don't think it's going to be like Infinity Gauntlet or anything like that. With how this movie ended, the very first thing that popped into my head, and I've not heard anybody else say anything about this yet, but the dust deaths are going to be wiped away, and those guys are all going to come back. First thing popped into my head was Heroes Reborn. Avengers, Heroes Reborn. Because they're going to come back from the dead. That was a storyline that happened in the Marvel Comics, the Heroes Reborn. And Marvel likes to take parts from this storyline and parts from this storyline and kind of mash them up and put them all together. And I think that would be a great title. You're going to get those guys back, and it'd be a good way to set them off on Phase 4. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, but and I know it's a movie, it's comics and all that, but I think that's a great way, a great title that they can use for this, Heroes Reborn. Am I right? Probably not. If I was running it, would I use that? I think I would, but who knows? So what do you guys think? What did you think of the video? What did you think of the movie? Have you seen it? Give me some replies. Post down here in the comment section. Let me know what you thought. If you like this video, hit the like button and let me know. Please leave some comments and share this with your friends. Let them know that I'm here. Like I said, I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I do plan on trying to hit some more movies here and keep this thing a little more up to date. I appreciate all of you that are watching this. Thank you very much, and have a great day.